Okay, so we want some green. This is just a practice. Don't worry about it. Do it several times. This was one I did earlier. So with my brush, obviously, I've got the green on it, quite thick. I am making that shape and I'm just dotting and splodging and pushing down a bit. Just pushing it down a little bit in places. That's a bit wet. And then trying to follow the shape of this one here, which is, and then a bit over there and a bit there. Doesn't particularly look like a tree at the moment. Then I'm just going to get a little bit of Payne's grey and put on my brush, just dipped in, no water, and just put it on the bottoms and let it move through. And then that will give it the shadow underneath. And then obviously if it's a bit autumnal, I'm just going to soak that up slightly. Bit autumnal.
God.
I'm going to put a little bit of sienna just at the top, because those leaves go the first. I'm only just jotting it on the top.
Fancy in a yellow or an orangey colour?
Well, you could put yellow or orange in. You see, we have very subdued trees in England. But whatever colours you want, that's how I've gone. And then I change brush to a liner brush and get a bit of brown or a bit more green, that's fine, and just do your trunk. So I'm going to put my trunk there and make that a bit thicker, otherwise it'll just fall over, won't it? And then I'm going in between the paint, so it's going up there, and then I'm going to do a branch there, and that goes up there, and that's there, and just fill the gaps in, really, but don't fill them too much because otherwise it's a bit overdone. So I just put in a couple of, right, it doesn't matter that they don't go anywhere really, because in amongst all that foliage they get all lost, don't they? So that's it, that's that one. And then to finish off, I'm just going to do a bit of grass. So I just put my brush down and I poked up with it, pushed it up. So that's a deciduous. See, that one is different to that one. Always happens. Always.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't happen the same. Right, we'll do deciduous number 2, which is the sycamore type thing. I'm just making that a bit more, bit bigger down the bottom. Give it a bit more presence. There we are. Okay, so are you ready to start with the next one? Just making that trunk a bit bigger. I mean, you can fiddle, obviously, as much as you like once you've got the shape.
Thank you, Susan. I like it when people tell me I can fiddle.
You can fiddle, yeah, you can fiddle. Sometimes it's best to resist the urge to fiddle, but you can fiddle. See, I would, if I was doing this in a painting, this would be a bit decide where my light was coming from. It's coming from the right. Okay, so I would lift off some of that trunk colour. So I've got the light shining on that side. Then I might even go the way of yellow right on the top, just on this side, because it's in the sun. But that's over fiddling really, but there you go. And maybe some on there as well. You see, this is not good, is it? Now that is too bright for me, so I'm going to get my tissue and just dab at it with the tissue. So just a little bit of yellow is left on there. There, right. Are we ready for tree 2, sycamore thing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So same thing. A very dry paint. It's only just got a little bit of water in it on your brush. And we're going on the slant. So it's
So
just a case of, yeah.
The objective in this one is to make a lot of little tiny dots, isn't it?
It's that one.
Yeah.
It's a more open tree.
Yeah.
And we are making, yeah, we're leaving a lot of open space on this one.
Yep, right. Yeah.
So it's just a bit of a different shape, really. I mean, I can't say that any of these trees look like the trees in real life. So I'm just doing splodges, small splodges. So that's all I'm going to do with that. Then I'm going to do the same with the Payne's grey, and right at the bottom of each clump of leaves. And just at the bottom there, so that it's dark. And that's, you could do the same if you wanted to do it as an autumn tree. You could do it the same and put the trunk in. So that's a bit of dark brown with a bit of Payne's grey in it. And I'm just pulling that trunk up. Make it a bit thicker down the bottom, and then just put some branches in. And then again, just some grass. This is only a practice, just some grass. It bled a bit there, so that doesn't matter. Right. And just put some extra little bits of leaf that doesn't necessarily need to be joined up, because the eye will join it anyway. So yeah, It looks almost like the other tree now.
Okay, so that's something for the on the left.
I think so. We're not quite sure how you do it.
Right. I'm going to give it a little bit of. Yeah, okay, so that's it. Fiddle away. I'm going to, it's a little bit bright, so I'm just going to pat it in a couple of places with clean tissue. Come on. Okay. Pine trees. Are we all ready?
Oh.
Okay, so I'm going to, with my liner, I'm going to pull down a stick. And then still with the liner, this is all done with a little brush. I'm holding it about just under halfway up. Pine trees start with little bits at the top, so go from side to side, making just little bits sticking out. And coming down, we're going to go a bit further now. So I'm just dotting and blobbing, really. My hand is going, if I did it slowly, my hand's going, yeah? So there's that one. Pine trees are, depending where they are and what species, they're different, and some turn up, some turn down, some have a big bit of trunk. So I'm scribbling. Make these bottom ones quite a bit thicker now, because and just keep coming down and going a little bit. I'm just scribbling. And then I'm just making a bit of land there. And with the next tree, I'm going to go close and taller. So there's a stick. A lot of it is hidden behind this front tree. So I'm going to make the bits at the top. You're just filling in bits and sticking out, just imagining where the leaves are. So you don't have to do much for that second tree. I've just pulled a little bit of trunk down so that you can see. And then I'm going to do a little baby one. So I've left more gap this time, but it's still going to be over the top of this one. And it's just, again, backwards and forwards, squiggle. Squiggle him out, down to the bottom. Yeah, and we have we have 3 little trees. So I'm just doing another one. You see, you could do this. Just practice these for hours. Cover every bit of paper you've got. Squiggle them out. Bring them down. Squiggle them out. So, if you want to fiddle, get a little bit of Payne's grey and just put them on the bottom of each of the branches. And that will give you the darkness, which probably means to say that the light would be coming from the other side. And if you want to make another tree to make this look like a thick clump, do it at the back, start it off and then squiggle it down until you reach the other trees, and then you just leave it and it just sits there. All of a sudden you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees with very little work. And then I'll put another one in there. And you can just squiggle it down. There we go. There's another one. Oh, that's a bit. And you've got trees all over the place. You've got a veritable forest before you know where you are. I'm just dropping a little bit of Payne's grey on the branches just to give it a bit of texture. And we could have a bird there. And a bit of grass. And we have bulrushes. It's all practice. It's all just a bit of fun. We're not trying to draw anything, a finished painting. That's for the fir trees. So backwards and forwards, zigzags. Just going a little bit further each time is a quick way of doing it. So start off with your top and then just move your hand backwards and forwards.
Oh, no, I don't want to come out.
And even though it doesn't actually look like a proper fir tree,
Bob?
It fools the eye into thinking, yep, this is a fir tree. I know that because that's the sort of shape it is. And I just dotted in a few bits of Payne's grey just to give it a bit of life and lots of flat.
Since you're sending an email, she's investigated the other
That is that for the practice.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
So we're going to put the pine tree practice into reality now. So I'm going to do some wet in wet. So wet your paper all over, no puddles, nice sheen. If it's warm where you are, you'll need to put more water on. So there we are. Want to be able to move this first layer around a bit, otherwise you won't get the mist. So put your water on, and then we'll leave it just a couple of minutes just to soak in. I've got a sheen on that, you can see. And I learned something the other day, that if the water no longer moves on the paper, then it's ready to do. So if you look down, I'm tipping it towards this edge, and I've got a space where my water finishes, and I've got a dry bit. So if I'm tipping it up and I don't see a bead of water collecting on that line between the dry and the wet, theoretically, it's ready to go. Yeah, I think that's it. So, a little bit of Payne's grey. Quite watery. So, about that consistency. That colour, that consistency. Okay. I'm going to start off up on the left corner and just wiggle my brush down. And then I'm going to put some more, again from the left, coming across, right across the bottom. We need to make some distant ones now. So using the same brush, just drop some lines in. Different sizes, different spacings, not too large, not too short. And I'm going out that way. So I've just done some little lines, and they've formed their own bottom. And again, just some little, and the same with the bottom. These are so far off and they're misty, and we're going to paint over some of these, so it doesn't matter, but we still want some to show because that gives us depth. All right. Just gone over some of mine because they've disappeared. at the top there. That just looks like a blob. So I'm just going over it again. And just put a little tiny bit more blue in it because I want it to some to stand out. This will dry lighter than it is. Right. Is your paper still wet? If it is, and it's not blended well down at the bottom of where the trees are, and you've got lines, then you need to, with a damp, clean brush, a thirsty brush, just push the brush sideways up into the tree line, just gently, so that it looks like Misty's is floating around. And then I'm just going to put another little bit of light blue. There's a bit of land you can see sticking out. And again, I'm just pushing up with a clean brush and wiping every time. Every time I use it, wiping it off. And this one, just blending in. And my paper now is too dry to do much more. I'm just going to try and see what happens if I just do a little bit of a darker Payne's grey. Not too much water. I'm just putting a few darker ones in because these are the nearer ones. And I'm then going to dry it off completely. Okay. And then we're going to do the first layers of trees that you can actually see something of. So I've got a very weak mix again, and I'm going to start off in this area. I've got my liner brush, and I'm just drawing a straight line, and we're coming down with the squiggle, 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 and then flirt away with your finger so that it disappears into the mist. And I have one here. This will dry lighter. Squiggle it down, flirt away. And I got another one close to that. These aren't the very darkest ones. They're not the front ones. And we'll leave whatever one over there, left a gap. Just brush it away. I use my left, that finger there, and I just brush it away so that disappears into the mist. And that one there. Then we have a gap. Scribble that one in. Brush away. And have another one next to him. Scribble him down. Brush him away. We're working along this line here. Squiggle down. He's a bit dark and he's a bit runny. I'm just patted in with a bit of tissue. If any of them come out, you think, God, that's a bit dark, just give it a pat with a clean tissue and it soaks some of the paint up. And so that's that one. It's wiped away. These are getting smaller because they're going further away. I'm putting one right close to that one, so we've got two close together. Probably need one there. See, it's not much darker than what was there before, but these ones have got more definition to them. So when you think you've got enough on the back one, bearing in mind we're going to do more, it's not. See, that one there is quite dark. It's not now. So moving on to the bottom layer, we do exactly the same. Oh, too dark. Right. Squiggle it down. It's only giving the impression, we're not looking for realism. You can see how they are now standing out against the ones, just the vertical lines that we put in. In your mind, you have to be thinking where you want to put the really dark trees that are the leaders, as it were, because it's pointless doing too much background where you're going to do the dark. I'm only doing very narrow bottomed trees. Just wiggle it down. Yeah, so once you've got that layer in, the top ones will be dry, I would think. So we start with a little bit darker and a clean brush to blend away, clean but damp brush to blend away the paint at the bottom. These are the next layer forward. Use your tissue a lot to wipe off the paint that you're taking off. Right, so we've got one here. Just look to see on your painting where you think you need one. Don't cover up all those misty ones at the back. Just round in a circle to blend the bottoms in so that they get lost in the mist. That one there. Another one very close to it, just behind it, so it merges in together. You can paint over some of them. And we carry on doing it like that until we're up again. Still with my liner, I completed all that of that tonal value, and I'm now going to do the last layer of the darkest trees. I'm using mostly Payne's Grey. I'm going to put in a little bit of Hooker's Green just to make it tree-like. So that's dark green with Payne's Grey. It comes out a nice pine green. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, as they were at the show. And so really it's time now to decide where you're going to put yours. I'm going to have one here. So let's start him off right at the top there. He is tall. And then he's got not much before we get down. And we're squiggling. If it helps, extend the trunk down so that you don't lose your way. I'm just scribbling it away. He's not got really any other features apart from he's not got, just turning up a few of his branches, make him look like a proper tree, but not too much. Don't want too much on him. He's more defined than any of the rest, and I've just put in a couple of fringy bits on his branches, but I don't want him too fat. I'm going to do another one right not too far from him. It's going to be even taller. So he's got a sparse top and starts filling out a bit as he comes down. Now, on his left hand side, he's going to run into this other tree, so that's fine. We don't need to do it all, but we do need to make sure there's not much light to be seen between the two trees, otherwise, because that's wrong, because they'd be quite dense together. And again, just put a few wispy bits in using the liner. Not too much. And I think I have one just slightly over this tree here. I'll just mix a bit more colour. Oh, we need a nice tall one, starting him off right at the top. I'm starting him in the top row. Sparse, bits sticking out, then start giving them a bit more. Oh, he's had a hard life, this one. Squiggling down over this tree that is a background tree. Yeah, he's had a hard life. Look at him. He's not very well formed. That's fine. They do have hard lives. They sound like Bob Ross. Enough. Okay. On to the next one. I've done 3. I have 2 more to do. Positioning is everything now. Here, I think. Start it at the top with, in that second or in the top row of trees. And I'm squiggling him down. Just going to extend the trunk so that I know where I'm going, otherwise I end up with a terrible lean. Again, this goes over the tree that is the background, because obviously it's in the front. That's for one more. Make sure I've got enough paint to do another one. And I think, I think it might be here. I'm not going to do him quite so tall, but he's going to go up there. So, a bit sparse on the top. Starting to get a little bit more. A bit more paint. That's it. Now I've got a gap here, and I've got some very, very light lines, but I just need my lines to be a bit more defined. So I'm just, with very light paint, very watery, I'm just doing a couple of background trees in there, which I should have done before, really. And same with this one. It's not, now he's quite dark, so I give him a dab. you need to make sure that these background trees that you're putting in now are very light. If you're going to do what I'm doing, which is fiddling, obviously. I'm dabbing the ones that I am filling in with. Dabbing off some of the colour. Now, these chaps in the front here, and with a little bit of Payne's grey on my brush, I am just dotting in some highlights on the ones that are the stars. So I'm just dotting it in on the bottoms of those branches, which are not defined really, they're all over the place. But it just gives them texture and brings them to the fore. I'll leave him because this one was. I'm just, my hand it's totally random really. I'm just working my way down and giving them a little bit more depth, each tree. That's just with some Payne's grey.
Hmm.
It's just giving them, and I've got this one to do here, if he's dry now. I made him too skinny, but because I can make him just a bit fatter and give him a bit more definition. This one I don't like at all. So I'm watering down paint, and I don't like this one. And then at the bottom, I'm just going to take my number 12, and I'm just going to drop in a little bit of foreground in that dark, in the Payne's grey. Or you could have used indigo, just to seep them all down. And put a little bit of the green in as well. Get some green on your brush and just put that in. Just to give it. And I've actually just put a bit of shadow. So the shadow's coming off and to the left of the trees. Sun's obviously shining from the right. And maybe just pull up a bit of grass from there. Not too tall, and don't cover up what you spent hours doing. I'm just using that paint I've just put on and pulling it up with my just making sure those shadows blend properly. And then of course it wouldn't be complete unless there was a couple of birds. And that. That, I think. Yeah.